What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Buzzy, man. I'm coming back at y'all with another reaction video. Today I'm switching it up with something a little different. I hope y'all enjoy this one. It's called What If Earth Lost 1% of Oxygen Every Second. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this video, man.
Notice it at first, but every second, the air around you is thinning, little by little. After 30 seconds, you're gasping. Engines fail, hospitals go dark. By minute 2, planes are crashing, oceans are
Brother, think about
suffocating,
no
and
oxygen.
the
It's like
sky
actually
is
kind of
turning
terrifying.
deadly.
Like, do y'all think Earth
If
will ever
Earth
like really
started
reach a
losing
point of like
1%
no
of its
oxygen?
oxygen every second, this is exactly how fast the world would end. But how long would it take until we completely run out of oxygen? Can anything survive in a zero oxygen world? And is there hope for humans to someday repopulate Earth? Okay, so the first few seconds after the oxygen starts disappearing, things wouldn't be so bad. After 10 seconds, there's still 90% as much oxygen as there was before. Maybe you'd get a feeling that the air you were breathing was a little thinner, as if you suddenly decided to hike up Mount Everest. And if you actually
That'd really
ended
be
up
crazy
on
to
a
think
mountain
about.
that high, it would feel even worse. At 5,500 meters, there's already only half the amount of air available as there is at sea level, and now there'd be 10%
Why do y'all think it's
less
like that,
oxygen available.
bro?
So if you were hiking up these heights, you'd be huffing and puffing even more. And if you were an elite athlete, well, your body would be extremely sensitive to changes in the environment. You'd feel exhausted from things that would normally come incredibly easy to you. If you're not in those scenarios,
That'd
well,
be
maybe
scary.
you wouldn't be panicking, but there are some people who would. Meteorologists, earth scientists, and anyone monitoring the atmosphere. They would instantly notice the bizarre readings coming in from their instruments. In the time that it takes them to call each other or report an emergency to the government, another 20 seconds would have passed. And going from 21% to 19% oxygen was nothing, but in the next 20 seconds, things are going to get a lot worse. 30 seconds have passed since oxygen levels started dropping.
Oh, it'll start
And
doing
now,
it that bad?
26%
Like that
of
fast?
Earth's oxygen is gone. We used to have 21% oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere and 79% nitrogen.
Oh, it's
Now,
only
with a quarter of the
21%?
oxygen gone, it only makes up 16% of the atmosphere. What does that mean for you?
Damn.
Well, you definitely notice the difference. You're suddenly gasping for air, taking in bigger lungfuls, and hyperventilating or breathing much, much faster. You might be standing at sea level on the streets of New York, but your lungs feel like you're on a high altitude climb. The only folks who
That's
might feel
crazy.
okay,
I didn't
well,
think like
they're the
it
ones
would be
visiting
happening
from
this
high
fast, like
altitude
this rapid.
cities like Aspen, Colorado. This city sits at 2,500 meters above sea level. Living at high altitude for years,
So if there's no
their bodies
oxygen,
would
would
have
fish
already
still be able to
acclimatized
survive?
to lower oxygen. So if they're wandering about at sea level, they'd be able to handle the 16% oxygen level. Anyone doing hard labor feels like they have to slow down. Construction workers find sweat pouring down their faces as they try to breathe harder. Factory workers operating heavy machinery might find they're less coordinated and accidents might go up. In hospitals,
Damn.
things might get ugly. Sick people who are already suffering from breathlessness would feel worse. Someone with heart failure, stroke, or
That's
arterial
scary.
damage would already be suffering from a lack of oxygen. Now they'd have even less. Their hearts would beat faster in a desperate attempt to get more oxygen to the body. But this won't work because there's just not enough oxygen available in the air. Because less oxygen is reaching their brain, they'll become confused and some of them will die. And it's not just humans who would be suffering. Birds would start falling out of the sky. Birds depend on the 21% oxygen level in the atmosphere. They have
That's what I'm
extremely
saying.
high
Like,
energy
what
needs,
about
as
the
it
fish
takes a
though?
lot of power to beat gravity and stay flying in the air. Now, to meet these high energy needs, birds have
That'd be
evolved to
scary. Like
extract
they all just flying now, all the
25%
birds in the
more
world just start
oxygen
dropping
from
like
the air
that.
than us mammals. But with the sudden drop in oxygen, they'd run out of energy and would find themselves dropping out of the sky. Well, what about plants? Well, maybe you think they'd be okay, as All they do is take in carbon dioxide and make sugars. But plants breathe in oxygen too, just like us, and they use it to burn food to get energy. The drop in oxygen would force them to use alternative paths to get their energy. Now, maybe all this stress would make you want to have a relaxing campfire, but no
Hell
luck
no.
there. Less oxygen means fires would be
Who
sputtering
would do that?
or no longer able to burn. This
Hell,
could
I'm trying
also
to get
mean
us
that
some AC.
electrical grids would go dark. Without electricity, trains would come to a halt. Traffic signals would stop working. Emergency signals would start to blare as automated warning systems get activated. After hearing from scientists, governments around the world will have issued the highest levels of security alerts. Cable news anchors will announce the emergency even as they struggle to breathe. Governments may assume that it's a highly coordinated attack on their
I
country
don't think they
until they
would.
see that it's happening everywhere around the world. Presidents and prime ministers will get hooked up to oxygen if it's available, but they'll be panicking as they see everyone around them struggling to survive. Out on the roads, people will start yelling and honking their horns. There'll be massive traffic jams on the highways. But why? Well, the standard combustion engine is designed to run using air that has 21% oxygen. With that percentage dropping to 16%, well, the engine can't provide the power that's needed. People will be getting out of their cars, gasping for air, and walking away. Guess we should have bought electric. Oh, it won't just be car engines that are failing. Engines in airplanes won't function properly either.
That'd be crazy.
Engines usually compress the air at high
Like, do
altitudes
y'all
to
think it's like
extract
ever
enough
a
oxygen
certain
to make
point
the
like
fuel
that some
burn?
people in the
But
world would
at
be
this
like
rapidly
so
depleting
like
level of oxygen,
evil?
there's not enough to help burn the fuel.
Like to make something to
Seatbelt
suck
light
up
comes on,
oxygen. Like I know that
emergency
shit
air
sound
masks
crazy,
drop
but
for
like imagine that
hyperventilating
somebody could
passengers.
actually
Air
make some
traffic
shit like this,
controllers
bro.
will see
Like
a
to suck
flood of
oxygen
calls
out there
coming
and
in,
shit.
requesting permission for
Like maybe I'm
emergency
thinking a little
landing as
too
engines start to fail.
broad,
Even
but
worse,
that'd be
planes will
fucking
start
crazy.
falling from the sky. And it's more than just cars and planes. Anything that uses a combustion engine is in trouble. Powerboats and ships start stalling in open
I want to know
waters.
about the water. I mean, not the
Excavators
water,
can't
but the
dig
fishes.
earth, and bulldozers come to a grinding halt. And the problems will only get worse. Okay, you're now a little past 1 minute, and a horrifying 50% of the oxygen in the atmosphere is gone.
It's
If you
crazy
were
that
gasping for
like
breath
he's
at
saying
the
all that
half-minute
shit
mark,
is happening in
you
the
and
span of
everyone
1
else
minute.
around
Like
the
that's
world
crazy.
are now feeling a whole lot worse. Everyone is breathing faster now. Breaths coming short and shallow. With oxygen concentration in the air down to 11%, humans are fighting to survive. You look at yourself in the mirror and your lips have turned blue. There's so
Damn.
little oxygen reaching your brain that it can't function. Your thinking is warped and your judgment is poor. You want to pick up a phone and dial your loved ones, but you can't make your arms and legs move the way you want them to. You stagger out onto the road. What you see makes you realize the end of the world is here. It's the
Damn.
apocalypse. Emergency sirens are going off with no one to respond. People are staggering or lying unconscious in the street. As you look up into the sky, you see planes falling down toward Earth. The dwindling supply of oxygen has pushed engines to complete failure.
And the reason
1
that this
minute
would be
wasn't long
so
enough for
real, bro,
pilots
because
to
this
pull off
plane's
emergency
flying
landings.
24/7,
You crawl
bro.
back
Like
inside to avoid being hit on the head by falling debris. The scarce few patients hooked up to oxygen in hospitals are still breathing, but they see the oxygen levels depleting on their cylinders and they're overcome with fear. The doctors and nurses who tended to them, they're in no shape to look after them anymore. Now, is there
damn.
any good news in this scenario? Well, forest fires that were smoldering half a minute ago are now completely out. There's not enough oxygen for even hot coals to glow, let alone a forest fire to burn. Now, at this point,
That's
there's
insane.
another change taking place. With less oxygen in the air, well, atmospheric pressure has dropped. Less pressure on the ocean waters means that they start to release dissolved gases. Dissolved oxygen starts to leave the ocean, so there's less for the fish to breathe. This degassing will
No.
affect all the ocean's creatures. When the ocean loses oxygen, they'll be struggling to breathe. Ocean
Damn.
creatures breathe oxygen that's dissolved in water, but now that there's less
I thought they
oxygen,
were gonna be straight.
they're all gonna die too. Okay, that's what's going on in the oceans, but what's happening up in the sky? Well, the next part of our environment that'll suffer from a drop in oxygen is the stratosphere. Now, the ozone layer is made up of oxygen, where 3 atoms combine to form a single ozone molecule. But
Oh, he
severe
getting
drop
ahead
in
of me here.
oxygen means that the ozone is depleting. And as the ozone gets destroyed, harmful UV rays from the sun will strike Earth. These rays cause cancer and cataracts in humans. Anyone gasping for air on the beach suddenly feels the sun's rays burning into them, even stronger than before. The only good news is that at the
Ooh.
rate that the oxygen is disappearing, well, they won't be around to see any of the harmful effects that have happened to their bodies.
Damn.
Okay, another whole minute has passed, and the oxygen level has plummeted even further. Now, 70% of the oxygen in the atmosphere is gone. The concentration in the air has gone from 21% 2 minutes ago to a mere 6%. As the level drops to 6%, humans and animals will begin fainting and falling to the ground unconscious, their faces turned ash colored. If this 6% oxygen concentration were to last only 4 or 5 minutes, well, there would be some hope for anyone who's still alive to recover. If it lasted 6 minutes, 50% of us would survive. But it's not going to last another second, because every second there's less and less oxygen. Humans, animals, plants, everything is dying everywhere. It's the biggest mass extinction event the Earth has ever seen.
That's
Just
insane.
like
Like, can this
550
ever
million
happen?
years ago, when a sudden drop in oxygen wiped out 80% of life. Oxygen has disappeared
Oh, this
from
already
the deep
have
waters
happened?
of the ocean, killing off animals that live on the seafloor. The plankton that produce fresh oxygen to replenish our supplies are rapidly dying themselves. The massive infrastructure that humans have built on Earth is crumbling. There's no more electricity being generated from fossil fuels because burning coal or gas needs oxygen, which is gone. When everything else is dying, weirdly enough, solar and hydroelectricity continue to generate. Water is still flowing, and solar cells don't need oxygen. Earth has clean energy at last, but just with no one to use it. But it gets even worse. This catastrophic event isn't just an exercise in holding your breath. No, this is a complete wipeout of everything on Earth. It's not just oxygen in the atmosphere that's going away. Every molecule of oxygen on Earth is disappearing. That means the
That's
oxygen
scary.
atoms that bind with hydrogen to make water, oxygen that's part of the Earth's crust, and oxygen that's in concrete holding our buildings together. The oceans are becoming a sea of hydrogen as all the oxygen escapes. Earth's crust crumbles into silicon and carbon, and oxygen from concrete disappears. It can no longer bind together, causing all the buildings on Earth to
Damn, so it
crumble
would
to
be no more
dust.
roads either?
Okay, 8 minutes after the start of this catastrophe, 99% of the oxygen in the atmosphere will be gone. From 21% of the atmosphere, oxygen now will make up less than 1%.
Damn, I didn't
of
know it
the
was
air,
only
and
21%.
less than 1% of our bodies, the crust, and the environment. All living things will be dead. It's not just that they can't breathe anymore, their bodies will literally fall apart as oxygen disappears. The human body is 65% oxygen, and along with the buildings, human bodies
It's
will
crazy that
become
we
a
take
pulpy mess
65%
as
oxygen and it's only
disappears everywhere.
21% oxygen in the
There's
atmosphere.
no coming back from these scenarios. Plants, humans, Earth, everything will be destroyed.
That's
Is there
crazy
any
to me.
way Earth could recover from this massive 8-minute deoxygenation? No, not if we removed oxygen from every single compound on Earth. Not for billions of years, at least. But let's rewind a little to a slightly less horrific scenario. What if oxygen only disappears from the atmosphere? Could the Earth recover in that scenario? Well, if that's the
Bro, he
case,
just said the
for
sun was
starters,
finna
our
set everything
buildings
on
would still
fire.
be standing. Phew. Hello, Colosseum. And some living creatures would have survived because there are some bacteria that survive without oxygen altogether. The anaerobic bacteria. These were the first ones to emerge on Earth billions of years ago. And with this rapid oxygen depletion, it's almost like we've gone back in time. Conditions are perfect for them to multiply. But what about the rest of life? How about if we flipped a magic switch at this point? So there was a big reversal and Earth gained 1% oxygen every second. Well, in a little under 8 minutes, the Earth would be right back to where we started, 21% oxygen. Unfortunately, there would still be a whole lot of dead people, animals, and dead plant matter everywhere. But wait a minute, let's take a closer look. Not all the animals may be totally dead. There are two that have been seen to go without oxygen for quite a while and still live. First are cockroaches. They've
Oh
been known to
man.
live after being submerged in water for up to 40 minutes, so there's a good chance they're coming back to life when we flood the Earth with oxygen again. Then there's the naked mole rat. It can survive up to 18 minutes without oxygen. Now, in
Ew.
addition to these, there's another type of creature that may have survived.
Bacteria.
It has a useful trait. It can switch back and forth between oxygen-rich and oxygen-deficient environments. Tell you the exact scientific term, they're called facultative anaerobes. If oxygen is available, they breathe like us humans do, but if there's no oxygen, they switch to fermentation. Either way, they survive. So it's possible that Earth would also still have these kicking around. Some bacteria,
Man,
some
I'd be mad at
yeasts, some
here,
fungi,
man. I'd
and
have went out,
even some
goddamn, still cockroach
invertebrates
still
in the
rolling around
ocean.
that bit.
One of the aquatic invertebrates with this double survival advantage is a type of segmented worm called a bristleworm. Now, if we
Can you
waited
see
for life
these
to evolve from
with your
anaerobic
naked eye? They're
bacteria,
like the type of shit you
we might
gotta
have to
see
wait for
like under the
billions of
telescope.
years. After all,
I
it
meant
took
microscope.
2.5 billion years for humans to evolve from cyanobacteria that first time round. And there's no guarantee that that evolution cycle will take place the second time
That's
round.
crazy.
At least not on Earth, which is becoming rapidly more inhospitable. More about that in a minute. A more promising path to humans 2.0 is from the multicellular creatures, maybe the bristleworms or the naked mole rats. After millions of years of evolutionary cycles would lead to a second coming of humans. Assuming, of course,
That would be insane.
cockroaches don't take over the Earth. But there's a time constraint. Earth is not going to remain the pleasant place it is right now for billions more years. In a mere 600 million years from now, Earth is going to be a whole lot hotter. The sun will be
Ooh.
6% more luminous, and the amount of solar radiation hitting Earth will
Fuck
go
no.
up a lot. If new life forms evolve from what's left, well, they'll have to adapt to survive on a planet that keeps getting hotter. With this heat in 600 million years, there'll be no more photosynthesizing plant life. The intense heat of the sun will drive the removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, making photosynthesis impossible. Then, in another 400 million years, that hot sun will make our oceans evaporate. With no
No.
water, it's going to be very hard for even roaches to survive. Well, I'm pretty happy we're not losing 1% oxygen every second. Even if we gain
Yeah,
it
yeah,
back,
me too.
human life on our beautiful blue marble would pretty much be destroyed. And if it's not oxygen yo-yoing back and forth, well, the sun can have a pretty horrific effect on Earth as it ages and heats up more. But what if we poured all the Earth's water on the sun? Would that cool it
Oh,
down?
that's a W video. Let me know if
It
y'all want to watch
just
that,
might,
man.
but
If y'all want to watch
that's
that,
a
let me know in the
story.
comments, bro. If anyways, if y'all enjoyed that video, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. And we out.